Good evening. Welcome back to another topical message. And I was thinking about this all day today. I'm a little bit short breath because I just got done at the gym. I had a work day today. It was a fairly long work day because Thanksgiving's coming up in 2 days, right? We got Wednesday and Thursday. Today's Tuesday. I don't know why I'm so out of breath. I think it's because I haven't eaten anything, which is probably not a good idea before the gym, but great day, you know? And the only reason it's a great day today is because God is so good, right? He's blessed me with just joy and peace, right? Even if there was bad things that happened today, I just blocked them out of my view. And it was a long day, but it felt so quick. It felt so easy. And a big part of that was last Thursday, I had a 14.5-hour day where I was by myself. And that was horrible. That was the worst day I've ever had at work in my life. And so coming back from that, it's like, well, this is easy now, right? Even though this would normally be difficult if I hadn't experienced that last time. This isn't what the message is about, but I just felt like this should be brought up because it's kind of a little just cool fact, you know, a cool factor in my life that God has shown me, like, you can have joy because look at the suffering you're not enduring, right? Don't just look at the bad things that are happening. Look at the bad things that aren't happening, right? And that brings you so much peace. And in the same way, we can look, like, it's not good to dwell on the past, but we can look at bad things or scenarios, situations we've been in the past that we've now been drawn out of, we've gotten out of by the grace of God. And just through developing ourselves, we become so much more at peace and happier. And we don't realize that transition until we're far out of it and we look back and say, wow, like, I don't even remember how I felt. I just know it was really bad and I don't want to remember it. But I'm so glad and so grateful that God has brought me out of that. And now look where I am. And I have so much peace and joy now because I've come so far, right? And that's huge. Progress is huge to give us peace, to give us just contentedness, feeling fulfilled. Like you do have purpose and you're meeting that purpose, right? Because the worst feeling is when you have purpose and you feel like you're not meeting your purpose. It's a horrible feeling. That's why we all long for validation from people. We want to feel like we're the chosen one. Like they could have picked these other people, but they said, nah, they're not as good as you. That's what feels really good, right? From a parent, from a lover, from your crush, even from your friends, people that pick you because they see you have something that these other people don't. You want to be chosen. You want to be set apart. And that's the way that God designed us, right? I mean, he designed us to all be without sin, but because there's sin, he gave us the Holy Spirit, which helps us and tells us we should be set apart from the world, set apart from the flesh. We shouldn't desire that evil stuff, right? I don't want to get on too big of a rabbit trail because I feel like the message that I want to speak about is very important. And it can be applied so easily in life. So much. It can be applied to every second of every day, right? And that's what's so cool about it. Because there's certain things that it's like, well, you can apply this in a scenario that's very specific, but this can be applied every day. And so what I'm talking about is your choice of words, right? And I don't mean like specifically, this isn't like some, oh, how are you going to pull girls? You got to use these specific key words. And instead of using this word that means the same thing, use this other synonym. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about, choice of words, is choosing to speak at all, right? Choosing to interact with people. But more so than that is, how do words affect people? How do your words affect people? How have other people's words affected you? And I was thinking about this. And by you, I mean me, right? And so I was at the store, right? And there's so many people at the store. It's Thanksgiving, coming up on Thanksgiving. So there's so many people in the store. It's the busiest day since summer. Might even be busier than then, right? Because it's all at once, right? This big holiday that we're coming up on. I'm sure Christmas is going to be even more people in the store, but tons of people were in the store today, right? We couldn't even bring pallets out on the floor because there's too many people walking around. And so it was like, I was able to smile at people. I was able to speak to people who I hadn't spoken to. And it was like, I went out of my way to speak to certain people today, and certain people went out of their way to speak to me today. And that was what got me onto this concept. How much do words mean to us? And how much can, like, I give purpose and meaning to someone's day or uplift them by the things I say. That wasn't meant to rhyme, but that was kind of cool. I got to eat this Nature Valley bar, bro. Famished even. This is frozen. It's rock solid. So there's two kind of categories of this that I wanted to dive into. One of them was just connection and how connection feels. And then the other one was genuinely like words that people say to you and how that affects you, right? Because there can be positive words like a compliment, right, in that aspect, or a question, genuinely diving into conversation, wanting to know about a person. That's more on a deep level, whereas complimenting is also kind of on a deeper level. And then small talk, or just like asking, simple questions or relevant questions, is not as much on a deeper level, but that's more of connection, right? And you can connect through compliments and words that you say, but there's certain things that you do simply to uplift people, like smiling at someone. And that is a form of connection, right? All of it is a form of connection. So connection is really the root, but it's different forms, all right? And so those are the two kind of ways I wanted to dive into that. And I'll give an example. I'll give multiple examples to explain that. So first off, I wanted to give an example that just happened here at the gym, all right? So normally I've been lifting with Chase. Back in April, it's now November, right? We're coming up on Thanksgiving. Actually before April, it was like the start of the year, start of the year. I was going to the gym still. I had just gotten back to the gym because I was lifting freshman, sophomore year, then junior year. I was just fat. No, I'm not actually fat. I have crazy high metabolism, but I was not at the gym. Senior year, I went back with Chase and we were working out after school. And then got busy with work, left for summer, went to Alabama on vacation, just didn't get in the gym anymore. I went to the gym in Alabama, which was nice, but just came back like a week ago, right, to the gym. And so normally when I lift, I've only gone with Chase. I don't go by myself, right, because he knows how to lift. He knows all the sets like way better than I do. And also, it's just great to have a friend there, right? Anyone who's been to the gym knows that having a gym bro is so much nicer, because like, especially with taking rests is what I've noticed the most. Because when there's two of you doing the same sets, you're doing the same lifts and you're going off and on, right? So your turn, my turn. You have time to take a rest, right? You're spotting for them. When you're by yourself, it's like, what are you going to do? Just sit there for the same amount of time that it would take you to do a whole set? Like, nah, right? When I'm with him, I can just chat with him. We can listen to music. But like, if you're by yourself, no music, sitting there, like, you wait like 10 seconds and then you're like, all right, let me just do my set. And then you take no rest and it's like you're cooked the next day if you don't rest. So having a gym bro is really nice. Plus it just gives you, somebody to talk to. It's not as boring and it gives you more motivation, right? Because you can motivate each other, be like, lift more, bro. Like, nah, you're faking failure. I can tell. Go up and wait, right? So we got to keep each other accountable. So I say all that to say today, I messaged him and he's like, nope, I'm out hunting. So he hasn't been able to go this whole week. He won't be able to go this week because he's hunting, which is, that's a Chase thing to do. He's always hunting. So I was like, all right, I'm already in town, right? We just hit up Safeway. It's right next to the gym. So I'm like, all right, let me just drive to the gym. Right? I'm not about to go home and just be like, oh, I'm going to skip the gym again. Like, nah, bro. I'd paid $80 for this month. So I'm going to the gym, right? So I hit chest and triceps today without him. And it was kind of boring, kind of lonely because I got nobody there. I was listening to Bryce Crawford podcast, which is pretty fire. And then when I got to the locker room, younger guy, right? He was probably like 20 maybe, just a little bit older than I was. And so I was changing out of my gym clothes and just like getting all my stuff together. And he was like, oh, sorry, I'll move my stuff because like his stuff was kind of in front of the bench. And I was like, oh, it's all good, bro. And then I was like, all right, I feel like I should talk to this guy. I was like, all right, how was your lift, bro? Because I could tell, he just showered. He was just getting off lifting also, right? And I had already seen him in the gym. And so he was like talking about his lift, pretty good. He was asking me questions like, what did I work today? And so we were just having this nice conversation. He told me his name was Jonah. I introduced myself as well. And we were kind of talking about like, oh, how long you lived here. I was telling him I've been here for 16 years. And then his brother walked in. I'm not going to lie. This was like 10 minutes ago and I still don't remember his name. I think it was like Obi or Owen or it started with an O, something like that. But his brother walked in. He introduced his brother. He's like, my brother's visiting here for Thanksgiving. And he lives down in Boise, Idaho. So he's going to college. And I was like asking him what he goes to college for. He said he's doing chemistry. And it was just this great conversation. These guys were super like cheerful and happy. They looked like just super positive, eccentric guys. And it was just great, right? And we were both leaving the gym at the same time, so we walked out together, just like out the doors, and we were still talking, have this conversation. It was just like, I didn't even want this conversation to end, right? Like, because normally a conversation gets awkward pretty fast, like when you're not an extrovert, and it's like, all right, well, we've already said everything we can say. I can't think of any more questions to ask. I had like a plethora of questions. I was like, I'm intrigued in this conversation, right? I want to get to know these guys. These guys are great, right? And that's kind of just how it is when you feel genuine connection with somebody. And it's like, you could tell these people actually cared for me, and they actually wanted to like talk to me and get to know me. It was like, because there's certain people where you have an interaction with them and it's like, it's so surface level, right? Like when I see people in the store and they're like, good morning, or like, how's your day going? But they say it like super monotone, and it's like, okay, you say that to everyone you see every single day. It's like, you're not going out of your way to genuinely invest in someone. And I could tell with these people, right? Like, yes, I started the conversation asking him how his lift was, and it blossomed into this beautiful conversation I had with these guys. But I could tell they were genuinely super invested, and like they wanted to get to know me, right? He introduced himself first. He genuinely, like, he brought it to a deeper level. It could have been a super surface level conversation, but then he introduced himself, told me his name, and then we started talking about more personal, you know, you're from here, you know, going to school and work and stuff. I would tell him about what I do for work. And so it was sweet, right? We were talking about the weather because it's been freezing cold. And so it was just like, we had this full conversation that could have kept going for who knows how long, right? It wasn't like those people that have surface level conversations with you. And there was something so beautiful about that. And then when we both had left the gym, right, gave me a fist bump. He was like, great meeting you, Dylan. Like, he remembered my name, which was like a huge thing. Like, I never remember anyone's name. I'm like, great meeting you too, Jonah, right? Dropped the name because I actually remembered his name, because I actually had a real conversation with him. It's not like a surface level, nothing conversation. And he was like, see you around at the gym. I was like, bet, bro. And it was just like great feeling after that conversation. You feel great after a conversation when you feel like someone genuinely cares about you, right? And this has been a big thing on my mind, because I've been realizing like fake friends and fake people who aren't actually interested in you. They don't actually care. They're just doing it so that they look good, or they feel good. They feel like they're doing the right thing or saying the right thing, but really they don't actually care about you. And so being in a place where I'm really wary of that, like realizing, okay, does this person actually care, or are they just saying it to say it? Being wary of that, and then still being able to feel like this guy genuinely is a real friend, right? And it's crazy how I make a friend in like 5 minutes or less. It was like 2 or 3 minutes, and I made a friend here at the gym. Never expected that to come out of today, right? And there was another guy I spoke to earlier today, and he's the order guy for another different company that I don't work for, but he orders all the stuff for them. And so I was speaking to him, you know, how's your day? You know, is your Thanksgiving load been really bad? And basically just talking about, you know, relevancy, things that are relevant that day, right? Because it was a busy day. He was having a crappy day of work. I was, you know, I had a great day, but the work today was really bad, right? I just chose to be positive through it. But like, we could agree on that level that it was a lot of work today. And then later on, I saw him again, and I was asking, you know, about his family, because I overheard that he was like talking about his wife or something. And so I was like, oh, so you're married? And then I was asking about his kids. Apparently he has 2 kids, 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, which is like crazy. I didn't expect this guy to have kids. I thought he was like 20, but I think he's a lot older than he looks, maybe. And then I also heard some other lady at the store talking to him about a church. And so I was like, do you go to a church? And he was like, yeah, I go to a church. I just started going this week back to church. He said he hasn't been to church in years, and he just started going back this week. So that's really cool, right? He's off in this other town. He doesn't actually live around here, but he drives down here a lot for the order here, because he goes down a bunch of different stores. But it was sweet to connect with this guy through just eavesdropping, really. I mean, they were having this conversation right next to me. It's not like I was purposely eavesdropping. Just through not being closed off. I wasn't listening to music, right? And it was for a lot of the day, but like at this point, right, I saw that they were there, and this guy had already had a conversation with me. And so I was like curious, you know, let me just invest in this guy. And if he says something to me, I don't want to be listening to music when he talks to me, right? Because they're having this conversation over here. And so I overhear this information, and I use that later in the conversation, right? Bring it up. It's like God gives you opportunities for conversation, for deeper conversation. It's just that we're scared sometimes of going into deeper conversation because we're like, what will they think of me? This deer is genuinely straight in front of me. Oh, my deer are actually retarded. But like I was saying, it seems like we're scared of deeper conversation. Like we only resort to surface level communication, and it's really, nobody actually wants just surface level communication. People actually want genuine, like, to speak with somebody on a deeper level about serious things, because they don't get to talk about that a lot. But they're just weirded out by it because it's the normal for everyone to not dive deeper and actually get to know people. And I hate that that's normal, especially more recently. Like, that's become normal in the Big 25, as the youngins call it. I don't think anyone calls it that. I'm the only one that calls it the Big 25. I heard that once and it's just stuck. I don't think I've ever heard anyone else say Big 25. That's just me. But still, in this year, it's like everybody wants to keep to themselves, be a lone wolf, be nonchalant, and like, I can't show emotion. I also can't show who I am. Like, show who you are, bro. What happened to this whole wave of expression that we had, right? Like, I ain't on that LGBTQ wave, right? Because, you know, I'm a Christian and that goes against God's word, right? It's just a perversion. Like, you know, we don't hate anybody that's in that. We love them, right? We love you, bro. If you're LGBTQ, we love you. We care for you. We appreciate you. And we want the best for you, right? But that's, you're just a little confused of God's design, right? Or you haven't been aware of the realness of God and his purpose and his design, right? But there was this huge wave of expression all through, like, coming through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, and it just kind of cut off. I don't know why. Like, in the pandemic, it's like, you know what? No, nobody can have an opinion now. If you have an opinion, you're wrong. It's like every single opinion's wrong now. Like, before we were like, okay, everybody's opinion's right. Everybody can hear everybody's opinion. And now we're like, nobody can have an opinion. Nobody can speak about how they feel about anything. And it's like, it gives us this super surface level, you know, we got zero attention span and we don't care about people. You know, maybe buried deep down, we actually do. We want to have those conversations, but it's so normal for us not to, and so abnormal for us to have those conversations that we just avoid it. And that's what I hate that that's what culture has become. Sorry, it's really dark. The sun set while I was making this video. It's like, I don't know what time it is. It's like 4, but, you know, winter time, I guess the sun sets at like 4. We're just gonna have to deal with it being dark. You can still hear my voice. That's really all that matters. If you guys are getting something from this message, drop a comment down below. If you got any, you know, kind of feedback or like how you feel about something, or you object something, you got some hateful comment to leave, I don't care what it is. Just, if you got any thoughts, I'd love to see them down in the comments. But we're going to continue. We're going to talk about the other kind of side of this that I was thinking about, and that's the words that people have to say. And so on this note right here, this is actually a receipt, and it's a poster, a Hatsune Miku poster that Trevor bought yesterday. Yeah, I just outed him, but that's what this was. It just says Hatsune Miku poster. Flip that around. Beautiful. Not relevant, but I wrote some notes on the back of it. And what I wrote down was a couple of examples, or a few examples of when I felt like I was complimented, right, by people, or I was complimented by people, and it just meant so much to me, right? And negative words can mean a lot too, right? And maybe I'll bring up some examples of those as well, but I feel like it's a lot easier to bring a message across when you have an example, right? When you don't have an example and you're just speaking out of nothing, you know, it's hard for people to believe you and understand what you're talking about. So I had some examples here, right? You can probably think of some times where someone complimented you, or someone, you know, said something nice to you or connected with you, and it felt good, right? Connection always feels good, at least in my opinion, right? No matter who I'm connecting with. If I get to speak to somebody, if I get to smile at somebody, and they smile back at me, they say good morning, they say how you doing, and we just have a little connection, you know, even if it's short or brief, it feels better than having no connection. It feels like I have this regret or this shame when I'm like, okay, I want to talk to this person, but I'm like, maybe not. And then they walk away and it's like, wow, why didn't I talk to them? It's like, I just have this shame, and I don't know why, right? Like, I probably shouldn't have that shame when I miss an opportunity to talk to somebody, but it's like, I know I'm not alone in that. I know a lot of people also feel that same way. Like, we want to talk to a bunch of people, but it's awkward, right? But you get more confident at it over time, and you'll just start speaking to everybody. And there's nothing wrong with speaking to everybody that you see, right? At work, you see a bunch of people and you just speak to everybody. You're like, good morning, good morning, good morning. It doesn't matter how many people you talk to. You can talk to everybody, smile at everybody. You know, you don't know who's having a bad day. And that's what this concept was about. The message I want to talk about is really, you don't know what somebody's going through. You don't know if a compliment is going to lead them out of a dark place that they're in, even in that one day, right? Like in that day, they're going to go home, be depressed. They're going to drink until they fall asleep or pass out. Next morning, they're going to wake up, vomit, go back to work, be depressed all day. And it's just going to be the same cycle. But maybe if you compliment them, they'll start thinking about that. Maybe they'll get on their purpose, on their grind. Maybe they'll start going back to the gym. Maybe they won't drink all night. Maybe they won't wake up feeling nauseous and sick. Maybe they'll have a better day tomorrow. You don't know. There's a chain of events that could happen, right? That's outside of your understanding. It's in God's understanding, right? But speaking kind words to somebody, I don't think will ever have a negative effect. Okay. If you just compliment somebody and you're like, I love your clothes. Not like that. That's a weird way to say it, but like, they have a fire sweater. I love your sweater, or they got a nice cologne. You're like, I love that cologne. It smells great. And it's just like, sure, it can be creepy. I guess that's the only way, but that's when people have a skewed view of compliments, right? Like you feel like, oh, just because you complimented me, that's sexual. And that's a really messed up way of viewing things that has come out of this, nobody having an opinion in 25, right? Where, nobody can actually have an opinion anymore. We're not going to accept you for being open and being who you are. So if you compliment me, you're weird for coming into my space. And now you're trying to just push yourself onto me. No, I'm just complimenting you because it feels good to speak to other people. And I feel like I should show the love of Christ to you. And that's what I'm trying to do. But people can take it wrong, right? But majority of the time, being nice to people is never going to have a bad effect. And if it does, don't let that affect you, right? It's not on you. It's on them, right? You complimented them. You should feel good about that, right? Showing the love of God through you, right? Showing that peace and sharing that joy. That's what feels good, right? And that keeps that joy alive. It fuels the fire, right? When you share it with other people. So keep complimenting people, even if people take it weird. Maybe adjust your compliments if you're like really weird and you're like, oh, you smell good. Or like, I don't know, bro. There's some weird stuff you could say, right? Just make them generic, make them good compliments. Put yourself in their shoes. Would you like to hear that from them, right? Would that empower you? Would that make you feel better if you were having a bad day, right? And it doesn't have to just be statements like complimenting someone. It could be a question like, how are you doing today? And just be genuine or ask genuine questions like, how are you feeling today, right? And so I want to go over these examples. I have a few examples here, right? The first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about, okay, when have I been encouraged by someone's kind words in the past, it was a couple months ago, and I was putting up a display or taking a display down of 30 cans. It was Busch and Busch Light 30 cans, so pretty heavy, right? And none of these had sold down. And so I had to take all of them off and onto this pallet, and I was by myself that day. And so I was having a terrible day. I was like, we have so much work to do, or I do, and then I have to take this whole display down. Nothing's sold, so it's like full pallet that I have to stack. And so I'm just having a bad day, and I'm trying to keep kind of positive. I just don't want to feel gloomy or sad or just like be angry. Like I'm trying to keep that away, but it's kind of pushing on me, right? Because I'm just having a hard day at work, and it's a lot of work, and I'm tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep. And I'm just like, man, this is a sucky day. We just got to power through it. And this guy from that company I was talking about, the order guy that I spoke to, it's the guy that he's ordering for, right? So another vendor like me. And this guy, his name's Joseph, and he's not normally very nice, right? He's normally kind of a grumpy guy, kind of stoic, and he just keeps to himself. And he just gives off this energy that he's like, don't talk to me or don't bother me. And he walks past and he sees me stacking this pallet. It's beautifully striped, right? I'm just trying to make it easy for us in the future. Striped down. And I'm stacking, making sure I'm using all the area I can on this pallet. And he walks past and he's like, now that's what I call a good stack job. And he gives a thumbs up. And I'm like, thank you, bro. Like, thank you, man. And like, he didn't understand how much that meant to me because he didn't understand how hard of a day I was having. But genuinely, I remembered that for weeks, like after that, I was thinking about it. Like, not just like if I purposely went and thought back like, okay, what good things have happened? It's like genuinely like that thought lingered in my mind. What he said lingered in my mind, and it empowered me through the week and through the next week of work. Just thinking back, yes, I'm having a hard day, but God prevails. God gives me grace. And so that's what he showed me, right? All of this was shown to me just through what he said. Now that's what I call a good stack job, right? There's nothing that feels quite as good as being told that you're doing a good job. When you're struggling and you're sacrificing and you're doing the best you can and it's still difficult, when someone tells you you're doing a good job, it feels amazing. It feels so good, right? And it's like, yes, it's validating, right? And validation can be bad, but I don't think when someone tells you you're doing a good job, I don't think that's bad at all, especially coming from him, this stoic guy who always seems grumpy. And I've never spoken to this guy before. I don't know him. This was just a random, like, not a random guy, but he's seen me every day, but he's never spoken to me. This was the first thing he ever said to me. And it felt great. It meant so much to me. And he doesn't know how much that meant to me. And it just made me think, like, I don't know how much my words that I could say to someone else mean to them. They could be having a really bad day. They could be arguing with their spouse, right? They could be going through a divorce. They could have problems in their family. They could have problems with their health or losing, assets. Their car just broke, their house burned down. You don't know, bro. They could get cancer. You don't know what someone's going through. There's always people everybody goes through a hard season of their life. You don't know who's in a hard season or not. But you definitely can be certain that someone is going through something, right? We always have something that we could be doing better at. We always have something that we could request of God because we're never perfect, right? We will never be perfect because we're flawed. And that's a beauty because we can connect with each other. We can build each other up through that. And that's what's so beautiful about connecting with other people and going out of your way to speak love into them. And so that was just what inspired me to make this message, is how much his words meant to me, and he didn't even know it, right? And that's what I was thinking about today when I was speaking to other people. I got another example here, all right? So I think this was after that guy had told me I did a good stack job. This was like 1 month ago. I had dressed up at church to look good for this one girl who I have been crushing on for a little while. I'm kind of out of that now. It's, she hasn't really reciprocated any emotions or feelings for me. And, I'm not going to just completely give up. Like, if the opportunity presents itself, heck yeah, bro, I'm going to go talk to her. And I have talked to her several times. And I've been praying for God to, if this girl is meant to be my wife, show me a sign. And he hasn't really shown me a sign, right? And so you have to listen to God when he doesn't give you something, right? The answer you're looking for. And it's like, I've been waiting for this answer. And I'm like, God, when are you going to give the answer? And he has given the answer, right? It's not the right time. And so, but I was trying to look good for this girl. So I dressed up, tie, nice wool tie. And I had like my Tommy Hilfiger burgundy polo on with like a brown coat over it. I was looking spiffy. Okay. And on Sunday nights, we have a Bible study that my brother holds, right? And so this other girl who had seen me at church, not the girl that I was dressing up to impress, came to that Bible study, and we were talking at the table while we were eating. I was talking with her, and she just, out of nowhere, like, this wasn't in the conversation we were talking about, she just brought up and told me, by the way, you looked really good this morning. Right? And I was like, thanks. Like I didn't know how to respond to that, because you don't expect that, right? Especially from a girl. And this is a big concept that people talk about all the time. Like, when a guy gets complimented by a girl, they hold on to that for a long time. Like, it means so much to them, because guys compliment girls all the time. At least they used to. I don't know if it's kind of gone downhill. People are just like not interacting with other people. A lot of guys are staying inside, unemployed, collecting unemployment. And it's like, it's kind of sad to see. We're losing a lot of real men and people who are genuinely pursuing girls. And that's due to a lot of factors, but like, girls have been, kind of just pushing away men who actually are like even good men who are trying to pursue them. And they're like, anyone who pursues me, I'm pushing away. And so that's why a lot of guys have just given up on love. And that's really sad to see. But this aspect of, it means so much as a guy to get a compliment, especially from a girl. But I mean, even from another guy, guys don't compliment each other like hardly ever. Girls compliment each other all the time. So getting a compliment from anyone means a lot. And if you've seen my closet and the amount of clothes I have, you would understand how much I care about how I look and how much I care about the way I dress. I have spent thousands on clothes. And I was purposely dressing up. I spent like 2 hours, right, getting ready. I woke up early for church, getting ready so I could get dressed, shower, shave, look beautiful, going to church so I could try and look good for this girl. And so what meant so much of this compliment that she said, "You look really good this morning, by the way," what meant so much out of that was because of how much I intentionally had like focused on looking good. And she recognized that. When you put in effort and someone recognizes it, it feels amazing. And this was the same thing with Joseph when he complimented me working hard. I was putting in a lot of effort to get this done, right? I didn't want to be staying there till 8 p.m. And so I was trying to get this done. And he was like, "That's a good job right there." And it meant so much because I was putting effort into it and he recognized it. And so in the same way, she recognized that I was putting effort into the way I looked. And she went out of her way. Like, that's so crazy that not only she recognized it, but she recognized it to a point where she wanted to tell me, "You looked good this morning." And it felt so good to hear that, right? Because this is not just one day where I've been trying to look good. I've been trying to look good for the past year, focusing on style, focusing on making myself look better hygiene, trying to make sure that, my skin is better, my hair is better, my clothing, my drip is better, all right? And my presentation is good, and it gives off the, character that I want to express to people. And so because for the past year or 2 years, I've been focused so much on how I look, which I wouldn't recommend that, guys. Really, it's probably better if you don't care too much how you look. Do give some effort to it. Definitely have good hygiene, good health for sure. And make sure you're not looking like a slob and you are presentable, right? Don't obsess over it too much like I have. But this compliment was like healing in a way. It feels like there was this brokenness, and that's why I was trying to look good. I was trying to make people recognize me and notice me, and then she did. And it was like a lot of weight felt like it had come off my shoulders because I was putting so much effort in, and now finally someone recognized it. And I don't know, like, maybe I'm just crazy, right? But I don't think I'm crazy. I think a lot of you guys can relate to this as well. If you've ever been complimented by somebody for something that you intentionally put a lot of effort into, and it's like, "Good job. I see your effort. I see what you're doing. I'm proud of you." It feels so good, right? Now I got one more example on here, and I want to kind of contrast here. This message is getting really long, and I'm going to run out of storage soon, but I want to say this before I end it. The contrast between bad things you can say about somebody and good things. All right. So the example I have is from the end of the school year. We had this Earth Day where we had this big barbecue, no school that day, but we showed up to school. We didn't have any school like classes or schoolwork. We just went out in the yard. We had a big barbecue. We had a bunch of games and sports. We were playing football. It was really, you could do whatever you want. It wasn't like organized. We just had a bunch of stuff out in the field, barbecue, snow cones. It was great. All right. It was a great day. I always loved that day. We had that throughout my whole 4 years of high school, or I guess the 2 years I was there. But it was this Earth Day. So we had no school, big celebration. I don't know why it was Earth Day. I was at a liberal school. Just don't worry about it, okay? But it was a great event. It was fun, and I got to spend time with my friends and connect with them. We were sitting in this circle in the grass. Beautiful sunny day, right? And I had just gotten my haircut where I had a mullet, like not this one. I honestly liked that haircut that I had more than this current one. My hair looked the best it had ever looked, right? I had like a really fluffy mullet, and I had never cut my hair that way before, but it looked good, all right? Maybe I'll pop up a photo on screen if I want to give some more context. But basically, I got this big haircut, and by big, I mean like I had just long hair that looked horrible, and I didn't even realize it until, now looking back on it, like that was garbage, bro. If you are a man, do not have long hair. It's cringe, bro. It is shameful. And so when I cut my hair, I was like, dang, bro, I feel good. I look good. I'm feeling empowered by this haircut. And so honestly, I already knew I looked good with that haircut. I didn't even care what people said about me. And this is where I'm going to contrast with this stuff. All right. So we're sitting in this circle on Earth Day, having a barbecue. We're eating some burgers. We got some snow cones. It's great. We're just sitting out in the grass. Sunny, beautiful day. And these two people recognize my new haircut. And one of them was a girl, one of them was a guy, both pretty good friends of mine. And the girl said first, I really like your new haircut. It looks good, right? And then my other friend agreed. He was like, yeah, it does look, it's like your best haircut you've ever had. And that felt great, right? It wasn't so much as those other times when I was told I was doing a good job, right? Because it's just a haircut. Like, they're complimenting my appearance. It's a little more shallow than saying good job or you looked really good today, when I was genuinely intentionally trying to. And noticing effort it feels like a lot deeper of a joy, a lot deeper of satisfaction when someone compliments you for the effort you put in. But it still felt good, of course. Any compliment feels good, especially from a friend, right? And then coming straight from that, I'm like, all right, I want to play football. I'm not just going to sit here on the grass in a circle. I'm trying to be active. I'm trying to have some fun. And I asked everybody, nobody wanted to play football with me. So I just went out and I was like, all right, I'm going to ask somebody who I barely know, right? Because I was at the school. It was people I recognized. Maybe I had a class with them, but I didn't know any of them. I wasn't friends with them. And so I asked this one kid who I had a class with. I was like, hey, you want to play football? Because I knew he was good at football. And he looked at my haircut and he was like, nah, bro, you got a mullet? And he was like, that's trash, bro. And I didn't really care because I had just gotten a compliment on it a few seconds ago. And so I was like I didn't care. I wasn't affected. I didn't feel hurt or offended by his compliment. I was just it kind of just ruined his reputation in my eyes. It didn't make me feel like my haircut was bad because I knew my haircut was looking clean, bro. I was looking clean. And he was looking kind of chopped himself, right? Not to slide in a little insult there, but my pride wasn't hurt by it because I just received a compliment for it by two other people. And so this is where I want to show that contrast of the good and the bad. How negative words can negatively affect you, but positive words can combat that, right? So if I only had him telling me, ew, your mullet's trash, or the other two people also said my haircut was trash, I would have probably felt a little worse that day, right? I wouldn't have had such a good experience and I wouldn't have really enjoyed that day because I would have this bad taste in my mouth where it's wow, my friends just said I had a bad haircut. This random kid I don't know said I look ugly. It's I would have had a bad taste in my mouth. But because of their kind words, it negated his insult of me. And that was looking back on that, that's crazy how that works, right? Because they complimented me, I didn't feel bad. But if they hadn't, I would have felt bad. So it's I didn't even realize when they complimented me how much of an effect that was going to have later, right? It's like the Mystery Mouse tool. If you ever watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, he's like, this is a Mystery Mouse tool that'll help us later. And you don't know what it's going to help you with, but it's going to help you. And then you see it all come into place at the end of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse episode. And he's like, this is why we needed the random fish boots so we could walk across the river. Or I don't even know, bro. Something like that. Some corny something. I don't remember. That was a good show, though. I use that analogy, though, to say sometimes God gives us things in our life that we don't know why he gives them to us. But then later on, it's wow, it's all coming together. I needed this that I had for right now. And it's I didn't understand then that I was going to need it, but now I see why I needed it. And that's something really cool, in my opinion. That's what I think. I think that's really cool. And then later on that same day, we went thrifting. I went thrifting with these two friends that had both complimented my haircut. And then another friend, I think, was there also with us. And I was looking through the polos because I'm a polo guy. I love wearing polos. Like polo shirts and Ralph Lauren polo, of course, my favorite brand. And this girl who had complimented my haircut just earlier that day, she walks past and sees that I'm shopping for polos and sees the fit that I got on. My fit was clean, by the way. I don't remember what it was, but I just know it was clean, right? It was fire. And she looks at me and she's like, your style seriously needs some help. And I was like, bro, who says that? I don't know, bro. Maybe she was having a bad day or something. I don't know. Because she had just complimented me on my haircut earlier that day. Now she's like, your style seriously needs some help, Dylan. And I was like, I wasn't hurt by that either because it's I know it doesn't. I love my style. That's something so important to me. And so if someone insults it, it's not like it's going to have a deeper hurt on me. And that could be the case with certain things. But for me, I knew my style was clean because I love my style, right? And I had done a lot of searching for what do I actually like? What's the best for me? How do I feel the most confident? And I'm like, well, this clothing makes me feel the most confident. And I know I look good, right? Because I don't want to just be wearing no generic t-shirt or a tank top and some shorts. Like, bro, get creative, like make an effort to look good. And so that's what I was doing, right? And she was like trying to insult me for that. I don't really know what her purpose was of saying that. Like, why would you tell someone their style needs serious help? And then this other friend who complimented my haircut came in and defended me. Keep in mind, they were dating, right? This was his girlfriend. And she insulted my style. And he steps in and he's like, what are you talking about? Dylan has amazing style. And I was like, dang, bro, you just stepped in and like dodged, like took a bullet for me. Like, that's crazy. And it like that felt even better, right? Even if he just said you have good style, it felt even better that he had defended my style, right? Because he's confronting his girl for me, right? His girl at the time. They broke up now. But he was confronting her for my sake, saying, you're wrong. His style is good. And I'm not saying this to boast or brag. I'm saying this to show how much his words meant to me and the context of why they meant so much to me, right? If he had just said, Dylan, your style looks good, by the way, would have been a nice little uplifting, like, would have felt good. But because she had insulted my style and then he stepped in, because it takes more effort on his part to step in and say no, right? It's easy to say yes. It's easy to compliment people, easier than confronting them and saying no or saying something's wrong, right? Objecting them or arguing is a lot more difficult, right? Because it takes a lot more uncomfortableness. And so that's why it meant so much more to me, because he was intentional, so much more intentional. It's all about being intentional. And so this message has kind of gotten really long and it's like, I need to go to sleep, bro. But I hope that you guys could get something out of this message. Really, I only say this so you can apply this in your real life, right? I was saying you can apply this in every second. What you need to apply is thinking about how people's words have affected you positively and then speak that to other people. And in the same way, if you were having hatred or anger towards somebody and you feel like you should say something negative to them, think about how that would affect you. Think about negative things people have said to you or bullied you. And don't use that as fuel saying, well, they were mean to me, so I got to be mean back. No, use that as a way to say, well, that hurt me. I don't want to hurt them like that. I know what that feels like. So I'm not going to say something mean to them, right? And look back on when people have complimented you and it feels good, right? And you feel loved and it feels like it uplifts your day, especially when you're having a bad day. And just think back and be like, well, if I was having a bad day, I would want someone to say this to me. And so I don't know if this person's having a bad day. I'm not sure, but I'm not going to wait until I'm sure. But yeah, overall, just pour into people, right? Pour in the love that you can receive in Christ, right? God gives me this peace and this joy, just knowing that he cares for me and he loves me and he forgives me regardless of the mistakes that I make, right? And I don't have to worry about the hateful comments that people say. Like, if people hate me for it, I don't care, right? Because he forgives me and he loves me and I can forgive them because of that. And so I want to show that joy and that peace to other people, because I was in a place where I had no joy, I had no peace, I was depressed and I hated my life and I felt distant from God. And what I wanted more than anything was somebody to come in and say that they cared about me and show me that I was important, I was valued. And so I want to show that to other people, because I don't want anyone feeling the way that I felt. There is no reason you should want people in the suffering that you've been in, right? Don't drag people into your hurt. If you want someone to help you, be honest, right? Ask for help if you need it. But show the love to other people, because maybe they need help. And maybe you're in a good place right now where you can be showing love to other people, where you can be outpouring love because you feel good. Spread that, share that with them. And it will give you so much fulfillment, so much purpose. You're going to feel good doing it, right? And, that's God's calling for us too. And why wouldn't you want to meet God's calling for you, Why wouldn't you want to please him? But yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. Hope you guys enjoyed this kind of topic. Once again, if you got anything to add, drop a comment. Love to see them. If you enjoyed, like the video, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next message.